Captain Allen, my name is Connor. I'm the android sent by CyberLife.
It's firing at everything that moves. It already shot down 2 of my men. We could easily get it, but they're on the edge of the balcony.
Detroit Become Human uses a lot of recognizable humanitarian themes in its 10-hour multi-tier campaign. Following the movement of sentient androids known as deviants, players take part in the development of a new species of living AI units who humanity has created and become dependent on. The story is full of rich, captivating characters that the player can alter to their personal taste and shift the story. This dense narrative is often held back by obtuse control scheme, use of red barriers, and difficult movement, leading to being trapped in the game's geometry. Detroit Become Human is an excellent narrative-driven game. Just don't come in expecting a compelling gameplay experience.
My name is Connor!
Detroit Become Human stars 3 different characters. Connor, an advanced android created for the sole purpose of hunting down rogue androids known as deviants. Kara, a housekeeper who ends up in the care of a runaway child. And finally Marcus, a caretaker for a famous painter who ends up becoming the leader of a revolution. Each one is distinct, and since you have control of each, you can alter the story to benefit or hinder the other. The shift in narrative creates ripples throughout the game. Each case ends with a flowchart detailing where and when certain optional choices can be made and what outcome they can lead to. This is extremely helpful in analyzing your choices and seeing what options are available to the player, something that was sorely lacking in previous Quantic Dream games. Characters themselves serve as branching paths with individual popularity scales. The primary characters in your journey will judge your choices, and their behavior will shift based on those decisions. For example, despite having good intentions, stealing clothes to keep Alice warm while playing as Kara will cause the child to lash out for that action. Characters will face similar scrutiny based on whether their actions are positively or negatively seen by those closest to the character. The voice acting and animation are outstanding, easily creating a distinction between humans and androids, other than the glowing light on their head. Androids are stoic and act in a robotic fashion, whereas humans are much more organic in their speech and body language. It's clear that developers wanted to create a connection between Detroit Become Human and the reality of our world. Peppered throughout are articles and news reports that provide ample detail of what's happening around the world. Not only androids, but self-driving cars and other forms of automation have led to massive unemployment across the world. In addition, the world is facing realities of climate change, limited resources that are in tune causing havoc between competing countries. Despite mostly being pushed into the background, these final details end up playing a much larger role in the game. A lot of people draw conclusions between the android revolution and real-life history, the desire to be treated equally, choosing to be violent or peaceful, and unfair treatment peppered throughout, such as name-calling, being belittled, and refusing to be understood. Quantic Dream has done a great job in showcasing the history of humanity repeating itself despite being in a futuristic period, and the shifting narrative prevents things from ever getting stale. Much of Detroit Become Human focuses on character development, having to choose what these 3 protagonists will become during the course of their adventure. And since each of them is distinct, the soundtrack is also unique to Kara, Marcus, and Connor. While playing any of the 3, the sound design changes to complement their side of the story, which is a wonderful detail. Detroit Become Human may have great characters, a diverse narrative, and a phenomenal soundtrack, but the game suffers from tedious gameplay mechanics. Like previous Quantic Dream games, you'll end up inputting a series of commands to perform acrobatic feats, attack, and solve puzzles. Quantic Dream made use of the entire function of the PS4 controller, but this can lead to irritation when you're forced to use the touchpad or motion controls. Unlike the traditional control scheme, these are not 100% accurate and can be misread or not register at all. Since Detroit Become Human alters the story based on your actions, not having your motion register during a critical event can lead to an unknown shift in the narrative that you didn't plan out. The lack of movement can also lead to a lot of frustrating movements. Much of the narrative focuses on a specific path and blocks you away with red flashing barriers. The scanner mode is provided to help players see where to go next, stopping everything around them, and this is a huge help during these time-critical situations. Strangely, the highlights don't remain, and you must scan again in order to see them on the environment. Movement can be a significant chore in Detroit Become Human. Much of the environment has obstacles and some are too close together, making it impossible to walk past despite being a large enough gap. At first this isn't an issue, but during time situations it can become infuriating. In addition, the left analog stick controls many of the game's actions and camera. Because of this, you can expect the camera to move while attempting to interact with a specific object. While this never caused me to the same level of frustration as the motion control prompts, it did become vexing during the more times it started to happen, especially when I was close together towards an interactable object and attempted to look around at the same time. Detroit Become Human offers a lot of narrative choices and the ability to personalize your story to your own desires. The diverse cast, excellent voice acting, and fantastic soundtrack helped immerse the player into this actual android revolution where you decide the fate of this species. It's unfortunate that the gameplay and movement issues hold back much of Detroit Become Human's outstanding narrative.
Shit! We had it! Fuck!
It's my fault. I should have been faster.
You'd have caught it if it weren't for me. That's all right. We know what it looks like. We'll find it. Hey, Connor. Nothing.